Hey, Salvador Briggman here. Welcome back to the Crowdfunding Demystified podcast. On this show, we talk about crowdfunding and try to demystify this for you. So that way you can all go out there, you can attract backers, you can get funding, you can get a fully funded Kickstarter or Indiegogo campaign. And on this show, I really talk about how to do that. We bring on real world entrepreneurs, inventors, guests, artists, people that are doing this every single week. And I really try to just, pull back the curtain and really understand what's happening behind the scenes. So you can see a publicly funded campaign on Kickstarter and Indiegogo that has tons and tons of funding, right? They're doing six figures like today's guest. They will attract over 400 backers, more than 160K when it comes to their campaign. And that can be extremely exciting, but it can also be very intimidating to see that. You're kind of like, what actually is happening behind the scenes, right? And that's exactly what you're going to discover in today's episode. Not only that, but how this guest was able to create an entire business from scratch to launch a brand, which is growing and growing and getting tons of people to actually back this product, to buy it, and to be able to build a business out of that. I think is super exciting. The fact that your decisions right now, your decision maybe to step forward on this path of crowdfunding could lead to an extremely prosperous future. To me, that just makes everything so much more rewarding, so much more worth it. And I think at the end of the day as well, getting a product into other people's hands that can help them in a different area of life is just a very, very compelling vision for the future. So what we're going to be talking about is kind of getting into more of the tactics behind this, deconstructing this, really understanding the mechanics that go into this particular crowdfunding campaign. So I hope that you enjoy this podcast episode and some of the other ones that I put out there as well. So I do a YouTube channel under my name, Salvador Briggman. We also got the podcast. I got a blog, crowdcrux.com. Got a lot of great free education and free courses out there to help you throughout the journey. And if you haven't yet, probably one of the best places to get started if you are a beginner, or even if you've been learning a little bit about this. I've had so many people say very nice things about this resource, and that is the Kickstarter Launch Formula, which is my book, which is available via Amazon and also via Audible. So if you want to check out this book, it's basically a blueprint, a step-by-step guide for launching and smashing your goal when it comes to doing a crowdfunding campaign on Kickstarter or on Indiegogo. If you're really wondering what you got to do in order to have a successful outcome, to get the results that you want when it comes to this, and also understanding the mechanics behind it. Not only that, but also why it is that you're doing this every step of the way. Some of the ideas when it comes to promotion, marketing, getting more attention, getting more traffic, getting more eyeballs. You're already going through all the hard work of launching a campaign. Why not really, up the ante and have this be a global media firestorm where tons of people are checking this out. You're getting feedback, you're getting validation. You're really also getting tons of people to understand what your brand is and what you're trying to do. I think it makes a lot of sense to really invest in the process if you are going to be spending a lot of time doing this. So if you want to check out that book, you can go and check it out on Amazon at crowdcrux.com/Kickstarter formula. That's crowdcrux.com/Kickstarter formula. And also, if you want to check it out on Audible, they are doing a promotion. So if you get a free trial of Audible, you can also get a free copy of the Kickstarter Launch Formula. And if you want to take advantage of that offer, you can go to crowdcrux.com/Kickstarter audio. That link is crowdcrux.com/Kickstarter audio. That being said, let's really dive into this episode and let's discover how this individual, this inventor, this entrepreneur was able to attract more than $160,000 for their Kickstarter campaign, more than 400 backers with a really novel product, and also doing this coming out of Victoria, Canada. And it's coming up right after this. Hey guys, welcome back to the Crowdfunding Demystified podcast. Today we have a Kickstarter success story. It's already attracted over 161K for his Kickstarter campaign and attracted more than 420 backers for this project. This is for Maestro DMX, and we are lucky enough to have the CEO of Limbic Media here today on the show, responsible for this project. Justin, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Definitely, man. You think you can get started and maybe just tell a little bit about your product when it comes to the listeners, so you can just get a sense of what you're doing here and who this is for.
Yep. So Maestro DMX in a nutshell is a kind of an AI-based lighting designer in a box. So this is a device that, if you're a musician or a DJ or a venue that hosts, music acts, It's a device that lets them simply plug their audio into it, plug their lights into it, and then the system kind of makes lighting design decisions for you on the fly and creates light shows on the fly. So this way, anyone, even without a background in lighting or lighting design, can have sort of great light shows to accompany what they're doing.
And are you a designer? Do you love music? What's sort of your role when
Yeah.
it comes to the company?
Yeah, so I think I probably have the right background. I started life as a musician, but that's a hard path to travel on. So I ended up going to university and I studied both computer science and visual arts. So the kind of moving into sound, responsive lighting design kind of fit my background perfectly. So, and then the rest of our team as well. A lot of them I recruited, from the same department with similar backgrounds. So we've kind of got a team with expertise in fields like music information retrieval and digital signal processing, and that also have backgrounds in music or visual arts or things. So it's sort of that, we need people that are tech minded, but also kind of creative minded, and also have kind of a aesthetic, artistic sensibility as well.
How long have you been doing Limbic Media for now?
So amazingly, Limbic Media, I started in 2006, and we originally started to do kind of public multimedia interactive art. Like music, that's a hard place to make money. I did it for about 5 years, but then I went back to grad school and studied more. I came back to the company, and so the company kind of kept running in the background. I'd hired one employee, and we were doing consulting work, and that kind of ramped up until suddenly we were this engineering consulting company with 20 employees, building other people's dreams, but we never kind of forgot about where we started. And after about 5 years of doing that, we'd saved up enough money where we said, hey, let's build our dream now. Let's take this money that we've banked and build something cool that we think the world needs. And that was not Maestro DMX. That was actually a product called Aurora, which is sort of a platform for interactive lighting design, which ultimately led to the concept for Maestro, which is geared more towards like consumer and prosumer markets. Aurora was for large scale kind of public art installations, which are commercial business we do a lot of. If you go to our website, you can see tons of kind of large interactive lighting projects that we've done. But we're really excited to move into this, to bring our technology, to more people, and move it outside of the commercial realm into a place where, like, for example, where our friends and family and even ourselves, can afford and bring into, our music performances and our friends' music performances.
I mean, that takes a ton of persistence, right? And just really following through over the course of many years. Why do you feel like this was a company that you kept coming back to and kept kind of innovating and changing and growing? Why was that something you were so passionate about?
I guess maybe because it was my company, and I just always saw something new, kind of an exciting to work on, and sort of Maestro DMX is the latest new and exciting thing that I'm leaning into and putting my energy into.
Very cool, very cool. So, at what point did the conversation around Kickstarter kind of come into the picture?
Yeah, so this was not last summer, but maybe the start of last year. So that would be near the start of 2021. The concept for a product like Maestro DMX, we started kind of talking about it internally in the company. But our commercial business has been growing, and we're very busy. And I was kind of like, tell you what, and there's a lot of risk launching a new product. I said, I'm going to do some market validation this summer. I'm going to set up a landing page, run some Facebook ads, kind of see if there's some interest in this kind of product existing in the world. The market validation was great. We had tons of interest. It seemed like we were onto something. So we did a more extensive push in the fall, and we were actually planning to launch a Kickstarter that fall. But the more research we did, the more we thought we weren't quite ready yet. And that turned out to be a very wise decision. So we shifted things to the start of this year, and we actually hired a crowdfunding consultant to work with. And then
Awesome.
Yeah, and that's sort of where the current campaign kind of started. But we'd really been talking about the idea for about a year before that, and yeah, spent some time doing market validation, which is super important if you want to, put a product out into the world, particularly in the Kickstarter realm, where really, you're selling something that doesn't exist yet. So that's a lot. That's even harder than selling something that does exist. So.
Yeah, for sure. Is there a reason why you went with Kickstarter over Indiegogo?
Not really. It was a bit instinctive. I looked at both platforms. The consultant was leaning slightly towards Kickstarter, but I knew the platform more. I'd funded things on it, and I saw that there were products, similar products to what we had too. But no major reason. I wouldn't recommend one over the other. I haven't really had an Indiegogo experience. So I did have a terrible Indiegogo on demand experience, but I don't know if I want to even talk about that. But that's where they
No, we don't got to get into
that's
that.
where they take a successful Kickstarter and basically let you do pre-sales afterwards. But yeah, that didn't work out for reasons. We don't need to go into. But I was kind of disappointed with that component of their service. So we ended up launching our own site in the end.
So, I mean, you've brought products to market before, and you also have assembled teams of people. How do you feel like gearing up to this launch was different from some of the other things you've done?
Well, to be honest, it was a lot easier because we've done it before, right? We have the existing team. We have hired one additional developer to work on the project, but in general, like we've got our electrical engineer for the PCB design. We've got our mechanical engineer for the electromechanical case design. We're basing a lot of the hardware of this first system is going to be based on the existing Aurora platform. We do plan to. It's a little overkill for Maestro DMX, which is great for the people that get the first system. But we do plan to kind of simplify the hardware in future versions. But for now, really, I still consider this market validation stage. So if once the product exists, in this form, if we see there's a big demand for it, then we'll put the energy into probably porting it to a simpler and less expensive platform. So our margins aren't quite where we'd like them to be now, but again, this is kind of part two of a overall kind of market validation exercise. So doing it this way really de-risks the whole process, right? Where we make sure that there's an audience before we take each step.
Tell me about the moment when you really knew you were going to pull the trigger with doing a crowdfunding campaign, because it sounds like you had done a lot of research and you had really thought this out, and you'd also done testing. Was there a metric you hit, or was this just a gut feeling? Like, when did you really know I'm going to pull the trigger on this?
So there's a two-part question. So when I knew we were going to go ahead with the crowdfunding was after that initial market validation in the summer. We just got such an overwhelming response from people. All our metrics were great in terms of, I won't go into too many marketing details, but things like cost per click and, conversion rates for people that land on the page and give us their email addresses and all that kind of stuff. And just the kind of feedback we were getting, I was pretty confident that we were onto something.
Were people saying like, I want to buy this or I want to own this? Like, what kind of feedback were you getting?
Yeah, exactly. People like, this is crazy. This is what we need. The other products in the market aren't doing what we need. This, just like really just super like, you guys have to build this. This is like, the industry needs this. Just overwhelmingly positive feedback. So that gave us the confidence, like I said, to go out and hire a consultant and put aside money for ad spend and things like that. Now, one of the things is, the three things I gave you, one of them is about not rushing. So
preparing. Not rushing.
And the reason we worked with the consultant that we did is they didn't have a specific runtime for when we started working with them and when we launched. Basically, the idea is you need to hit these numbers before you launch. You need to have this many leads. You have to have this many VIPs. These are people that put down a small amount of money to get the best possible discount when the Kickstarter launched, and also just to look at like what our conversion rates were, with Facebook ads, and what that would look like in terms of a real campaign, right? So if X% of these leads convert and X% of these VIPs convert, and we can assume a similar return on ad spend during the campaign. These are the kind of numbers we're going to hit. And that's really important. And actually, to be honest, I was surprised at how closely the reality matched the model, and that was stuff. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, but what did that model look like, just out of curiosity? Was this like you're kind of getting people to spend like $10 on this, or is this much more? Like, what did the reality look like there?
Yeah, so we would do Facebook ads, and using things we'd heard before from people about, and we use pretty sophisticated marketing processes. So for example, we won't just put one ad out, we'll put, 10 or 20 or 50 ads out, and then we'll start the ones that are performing well, we'll start leaning into in terms of ad spend. Those people would go to a landing page that sells them more on the product. And there's two things. First of all is we love your email address, and that's building up that lead list, which we got up to about 6,000 or 7,000 over 4 months.
That's awesome, man.
And the other and the VIP system, how it works, and it's something unique to this consultant, but there's no reason anyone couldn't do something similar, is they have a system where you try to get people to become VIPs, where they put down, in our case, it was $1. Some people do $10, but they put down some nominal amount of money to get access to a special VIP Facebook group, and also to be given, to be notified an hour or two before anybody else on the planet knows the Kickstarter's live, to make sure that they get whatever your biggest discount is. Mm-hmm. And that was quite successful. We had about 700 or 800 people do that. And the conversion rates for your main lead list is maybe 2 or 3%. But for those VIPs, the people that actually took their credit card out and kind of showed that much commitment, even to put $1 down, those people converted at more like 15 to 20%.
Yeah, and obviously that's just the feeling of investment, and also I think also excitement, right? The more that you're willing to actually watch something, put a little bit of skin in the game, the more excited you are, the more you're kind of watching that, and it kind of almost like builds in your mind a little bit as well.
Yeah, and it lets us predict how successful the campaign's going to be based on how many people are becoming VIPs, and it gives us an idea, right? We've got 800 VIPs. Okay, 20% of those are going to convert on day one. These are the kind of numbers. So you kind of and you build those number of leads and those numbers of VIPs up until you hit the numbers that you need to hit, for your project to be successful. And that's exactly what happened. We were fully funded in 10 minutes and did 100K on day one. So, and a lot of that, like almost all of that, was pre-launch activity.
Congratulations. What did that feel like when you went live and you started to get that rush of funding? Was that a feeling of confirmation? What did that feel like?
It was amazing. What's cool too is the Kickstarter page has this kind of, it refreshes and the numbers keep rolling. So I just remembered I was so nervous before it started, and we'd spent about $25,000 on ads at that point. We were very committed and put a lot of time and energy into it. And then just seeing, exactly at 7 a.m. or whenever the VIPs had access, just watching that ticker roll up was just like, yeah, it was definitely the greatest moment of this year for me, and in a long time. It was just super exciting, and then it was addictive just watching the numbers go up all day long. Like checking every 10 minutes and just seeing it go up and up and up. So that was an incredible experience.
Yeah, I can only imagine, and I'm sure your team also was super stoked about that, right? Being able to see all their hard work over a long time kind of come to fruition there.
Absolutely. And yeah, there were a lot of people that were excited about the project and wanted us to build the project. But again, we'd said we need to prove the market first, before we take the risk, because we're just getting on our feet as a commercial company and just becoming successful there. And we don't want to jeopardize that by, trying to launch a new product where there's a lot of uncertainty around. So that just really validated that this was something that was worth putting our time and energy into, and that, was not going to bankrupt us building it, So
yeah. One of the things I'm kind of hearing is that you've been very good in your career about being able to actually execute on massive ideas, right? Yeah. And I think that's a huge challenge. Like any beginning creator has so many great ideas, but they have difficulty with the execution component. Do you think it's for you finding talented people? Is it a certain process that you have for creating milestones? Why do you think you've been able to succeed in this large way?
Wow, that's a big question. There's many things that contribute to that. Certainly part of it is finding the right people, and we've got a team of people that are super passionate about the work that we do and the technology that we work on, you know. And even passion is temporary, right? You need purpose to drive kind of long-term, you know, inspiration and effort. And so I think we've got a lot of that going on. We've created something I'm the most proud of is I think I created a environment at Limbic Media that really brings out the best in people, you know, and we've had our we just celebrated our VP of Dev, who's the technical lead for Maestro DMX. We just celebrated her 10-year anniversary at Limbic. All of our senior team's been there 7 years, 5 years. I think that's part of our magic too, is just having a core group of people that are super passionate about what we're doing and that have worked together for years. And we very much believe in this Japanese concept called Kaizen, which is all about continuous improvement. And so we have a lot of mechanisms and processes built into the way we do things that make us continuously improve. So, for example, our software team uses Agile, where we have retrospectives, you know, after every 2 weeks, where the team talks about what went well and what was tricky, and what they want to do differently next time. So I feel we're constantly improving our processes across every aspect of the company, whether it's product design or development or marketing, you know, or any of the other in the company.
If you're worried about the fulfillment and shipping part of your Kickstarter campaign when it comes to getting out all those perks and rewards to your backers, rest assured I've put together a complete Kickstarter fulfillment and shipping checklist for you, and it's free. This is sponsored by the folks at Fulfillrite, and they thought that you should have this checklist as part of your arsenal going into a crowdfunding campaign. If you want to get instant access to this checklist and it's free, you can go to fulfillrite.com/checklist. Again, that is fulfillrite.com/checklist, fulfillrite.com/checklist. Just go to that link and you can download it immediately.
Well, one question I had as well is, I think it's easy for people to kind of look in and like, this is such a cool, you know, lighting designer in a box, basically, right? But where does the purpose element come in? Is it related to the music? Is it related to the creating interesting products? Like, where do you feel like the purpose element comes in when you're talking about the vision?
Yeah, absolutely. So, and it's a bit different with Maestro, right? With Aurora, it's sort of about bringing joy into the world in these sort of large installations that are generally in public spaces that lots of people can experience. But the purpose behind Maestro is a bit more selfish in a way. It's you know, because a lot of us are musicians and performers, so it's something that we would love to have, you know, in our lives and in our performances. And we've got friends that you know are similar. So yeah, it really comes from a place of just us being very interested in music, loving music, and being very interested in lighting, loving lighting design. I mean, light's an incredible medium to work with. You know, it's actually a physiological medium. It actually changes the way, you know, your cellular biology is working. Like it's just a very fun and cool and powerful medium to work in. So just sort of all those things, just you know, and the idea of taking the stuff that we do that not a lot of the world gets to experience with Aurora, and having that in, you know, thousands or tens of thousands of people's lives, you know, it just feels really cool to take stuff that we've been working on for years, and then adapting it so that it just affects so many more people's lives. And just the impact that this can have is a lot greater. So that's part of where that excitement, or I guess the purpose, comes from. Is it feels like we're building something the world needs, you know. And we've got a Facebook group, you know, with 800 people on it, and they are just, you know, they're just as excited as we are. And so there's this whole community of people now, kind of, you know, on this journey with us.
What is it about the combination of music and lighting? You know, you go to festivals, or like I'm here in Miami, right? You have a DJ playing, and there's something just incredible about like that synergy. But why do you feel like for you that kind of hits you at a deeper level, where it's like you seem to connect with that music element much more than other people?
So for me, I've always been really interested in multimedia and immersive media. So that's when you've got multiple senses kind of being engaged at the same time. And they've actually done studies where, you know, when multiple of your senses are activated at the same time, like what you hear and what you see, the overall effect is greater than the sum of just the two parts. So there's this, and that feeling of immersion, which can even, I think when things are immersive enough, they can even move into kind of a transformative type of thing, which is very cool.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's why when you see light and sound working together really well, it's so powerful, right? And even in nature, like we've always seen and heard things together, like we live in the real world, outside of the digital world is by nature multimedia, and all of our senses and neurons are wired for that type of experience. So when we have these kind of single channel experiences, it takes away from, what our brains were kind of wired for, in some way.
Mm-hmm. So would you say that, typically to be able to have a very professional, set and lighting design and music setup, like it costs a lot of money, right?
Yeah.
It sounds like you're kind of bringing that to the average person almost, where they can create this effect, right? And it's also powered by AI in a sense.
Exactly, right. So we're kind of creating an expert system to do what a lighting designer would do. Now, with the caveat, so this is not a product that is going to get rid of lighting designers' jobs. This is a product for people that can't afford lighting designers, and things like big rock shows, like a Jay-Z show or something. They're always going to want something very specific. This is more for someone that's like I'm a DJ, and my lights, they've got this sound reactive function, but it doesn't really understand what's happening musically. It gets it wrong all the time, and I'd love to have something better, but I just can't afford either the time to put into learning lighting software or the expense of actually having a professional do it. So we're not, like I said, and it's funny, we've heard some professional lighting designers joking oh, this is going to put us out of a job, and they're some of our biggest critics too at the same time, right? Because I think there's a bit of a threat there, but really I see this as a tool actually that a professional could use in certain situations, but in general it's for the non-professional user. Like that's the user that we built this for, are people that don't know or don't want to know lighting design. They want that power of having having a light show sync to what they're doing musically.
Yeah, definitely. Very cool, man. So one other question I had for you was, you mentioned this sort of agile way that you have in terms of at least software development and those kinds of things. Having something that's so multi-stimulus and so many things you can do, right?
Yep.
Do you ever feel overwhelmed where you're trying to have too many features in a product, and it's almost like you have to really be more specific with what that is? How do you balance that?
Yeah, I think that's a challenge that any product development team has, and it's so easy to over-engineer things. So there's this concept in Agile called the MVP, minimum viable product. And this is also part of the kind of lean manufacturing concept. And the idea is to really strip down what you're building to its most essential minimal elements, and to release that first, because you're going to get a lot of it wrong no matter how much time you spend building there, because you can anticipate some of the market's needs, but you definitely can't anticipate all of them. So you're going to be spending a lot of time building things people don't use. So the idea is to get it out there and let the market drive the more advanced features. And so, but it's really hard because you've got a bunch of people like us that are super excited. Features are sexy, they're exciting. You want to put them all in there, but it takes discipline and having a good product owner to just manage that and understand how every little thing you add, no matter how simple it seems, can introduce unexpected complexity or issues. And I think part of it is just, we're not we're kind of a startup for the Maestro thing, but we're a mature organization that's, developed its processes over the last decade. So
I had one other quick question on that, and then we can also talk about where people can go and learn more about this. But it's just like hearing you, and I think that a lot of people will come to this and they're like, "Wow, this guy has been crushing it. He's been at this for so long, for many years, right? And he's really developed the season process. He has a team. He has funding, which he's gotten. It almost seems to a degree unattainable, right?" So one of the questions I had for you is, what do you still feel fear about when it comes to either launching a new project or when it comes to business? Is there anything you still feel fear around?
Yeah, absolutely. One of the major ones right now is around supply chain. So we're having not just A plans, but B plans and C plans in terms of any of the components that go into building this out. There's particularly since COVID and the war in the Ukraine. There's much more supply chain disruption, and so that's something that we really need to be on guard for, even at the point that we're at now. And the other is certification. There can always be complications that arise around that as well. We have certified a product and brought it to market in the past, but certification it's definitely a bit of a dark art, and you can be surprised sometimes. Electricity is still kind of magical. Even the best engineers sometimes scratch their head around what's going on and why.
Don't want to blow up the neighborhood or something.
Yeah, so those are the two kind of uncertainties for us. For someone new, yeah, it's like it depends what you're launching, right? Like we are doing definitely hardware is a lot harder than somebody that's building something that's purely digital. We've got all these.
Do you find your response to feeling that fear is to kind of overplan and just like have many different plan A, B, C, D? How do you really deal with that when you're feeling that fear or having to confront that?
Yeah. Trying to get ahead of it, trying to tackle the high risk things first, right? So like I said, we're 8 months away from manufacturing, but we're still monitoring the supply chain, on a weekly basis and updating our bill of materials. And when parts look like, they could be problematic, looking for replacement parts or substitutions. Just being proactive and attacking the highest risk things first, to make sure that they're not going to come up and get you later on.
My final question for you is, looking back on this experience, is there anything you feel like you would have done differently, or would you have improved upon, or anything along those lines?
That's a great question. I think I underestimated how much of my time it would take because I'm still running a busy commercial business, and it was definitely a full-time job. So luckily, the project, there's so much excitement around it that kind of energized me and, just let me put in the long days and things to make it happen. But yeah, I guess don't underestimate the amount of work it takes to do something like this properly,
Got it. And where can people go to learn more about your Kickstarter? And also, I assume you're going to have some more announcements in the future as well.
Yeah, so they can still go to, the best place to go is to the Kickstarter page to search for Maestro DMX, Maestro DMX. And there's a link, so you can learn all about the product there. There's a video, there's demo videos of kind of our proof of concept. And other information anyone wanting to purchase the system would be interested in. And then there's a link at the top that goes, so we have a pre-sale page now, and there's a link at the top, and we're still offering a 25% discount for people that buy it before it hits the market. And also, like I said, we're doing this first production run that we do. If things are looking successful enough, we may actually hit the pause button and redevelop the platform. And so that means after that first batch of units, there could be, it could be 6 months or longer before they become available again. So if this technology looks like something that, you really need, it's definitely good to get in on the pre-order, not just for the discount, but because it's the only way to guarantee that, you're going to get one in 2023.
You guys should totally come down as well to Miami with this technology. I'm telling you, you make a killing. I don't know if you're already here, right, doing work here, but this is like such a Miami product, in my opinion.
Awesome. I feel it's such an everywhere product. That's what I love about it. It could like there's countries like Nigeria that are exploding, and like nightclubs are opening, and musicians and DJs, and there's just we've got some connections in China. That market is huge. But Miami, yes, and we have done some public art in Miami. I think we did the Miami Zoo. We did an installation. And,
okay.
And we might have done another lighting installation there with the commercial business. So.
Very cool. My final question for you, and you can speak directly to the listeners, and we can end on this note, is you could end with either a final tip, a final word of encouragement for someone who's just getting started with the process. It could be a quote that you like. It could be advice that someone else has given you at some point in your life, anything along those lines. And we can end on that note.
Yeah, let's do the top 3 list. Do you have them in front of you?
Yeah. So some of the ones that you were mentioning pre-show,
Yeah.
right?
What was the first one?
Yeah. So
the first one was.
I think we actually covered. Yes, we actually covered a lot of these. Do your research, right? Don't do it alone. Do the math. Don't rush into it.
Yeah.
If you had any kind of just word of encouragement or anything like that for someone who maybe is just kind of getting started with their first product in the way that you were, anything along those lines, I think would be great.
Yeah, prove the market exists before you spend as little money as possible, take as little risk as possible. There's very low risk ways to find out if your market exists, and that can cost no money. That can be just reaching out, but you've got to do your market research and your market validation, and then you got to make sure that you have a model and that the numbers line up with what you need for things to be successful.
Cool. Well said, Justin. Thank you so much for coming on the show. Really appreciate it. And good luck with your future projects.
Thank you, Salvador.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Crowdfunding Demystified podcast. Again, my name is Salvador Briggman. Thank you for joining me here on this show. If you haven't yet, go and check out some of the other episodes we got out there on many different subjects when it comes to crowdfunding, many different types of products, people launching campaigns from around the world. This is a global phenomenon. This is an international community, which I've worked very hard to build. And for me, this is obviously something I'm passionate about and a labor of love. But at the end of the day, it's also about you. It's really about how we can bring new products, new inventions, new cool stuff into the world that's going to impact humanity for the future in such a positive way. Whether that's delighting someone with a product, solving a problem, doing something that's going to help them in their everyday life. These are the little products and problems that kind of make up, right, what our everyday life and living is. And that's really my mission, is to help you do this. So one of the ways I do that is by bringing on real world entrepreneurs and inventors, obviously with this podcast. I also love to do that with my YouTube channel, putting out education. I do that as well with my blog, crowdcrux.com. One of the other things that we offer as well is coaching. So coaching is really designed for people that are serious about the process and they want to speed this up. They really want to go on the fast track. They want to understand exactly what they have to do step by step, have their hand held as they're going through this process. So that way they can not only launch a campaign powerfully, but also they can achieve many of their other objectives that they have. I've had coaching students over the years who are like, Sal, I just want to be able to sell lots and lots of product and get feedback on it. I have other students that are like, you know what? I actually kind of want validation. I want to figure out, is this something I should spend the next couple of my years of my life on, is bringing this product into reality. I have other people that are like, dude, I have a ton of funding already. I already have a big budget. And I really just want to do this for the marketing, for the brand exposure, and to get my name out there when it comes to lots of publications and news organizations writing about me. So there's so many reasons why you might be doing a crowdfunding campaign. It may be for a physical product. It could be for a tabletop game. It could be for a nonprofit organization. It could be for a publishing project, or you could even be doing a new style equity crowdfunding campaign on a website like WeFunder. Whatever it is, I would say that one of the best possible investments which you can make is just spending a little bit of time to understand the road ahead, what you got to do every step of the way. Have me give you feedback as well when it comes to those processes, and maybe for some select campaigns as well, deciding whether or not I can also personally get involved in helping you with your project. So if you'd like to discuss that, or also get some links as well and resources, connections to other people in the industry, you should book a one-on-one individual intensive coaching call with me. This is a minor investment to do this, but again, like I said, it's probably one of the best investments which you can make in your company, in your brand, and of course, in your own mission and in your future potential here. So if you're interested, go and check out this link at crowdcrux.com/coaching. That link is crowdcrux.com/coaching. crowdcrux.com/coaching will take you there. You can fill out a little bit of information. Tell me more about you. Tell me about your aspirations. Tell me what you're working on. And that way we can get that call scheduled ASAP. I hope that you enjoyed today's podcast episode and you took a lot of value out of it. Don't just, sit on this knowledge and information. Really try to take action. Try to take action every single week. Use this podcast as a battle cry. As you're coming here every single week, you're learning a bit, you're getting excited, you're getting motivated, you're also taking action towards your goals. That to me is what a successful outcome is. And if you do enjoy it, make sure you also leave a positive rating and review on iTunes. Thank you so much. My name is Sal, and I will see you next week.